Hey folks, it's JG. The Unrealized Realities banner has introduced a new 5-star Primal Protector, Cairn, and she's quite good. I'll give her kit a quick review today. I didn't pull in this banner, and for days I couldn't find her up as a support unit, so I thought I was going to have to limit this to a paper analysis. But finally I found one, so if you know Dr. Spark PDP Sir B, give them a high five for me. Incidentally, if you like my reviews, please consider dropping a subscribe on my channel. At 2,000 subscribers, I can apply to the Arknight's content creator program, which I think will give me an easier time demoing units without having to own them all myself. For core stats, I stacked Cairn against some other 5-star defenders, Croissant and Cherny. She sits right in the middle here, second place in almost everything, but a little low on defense. If you're comparing to other classes, this is a very defensive-oriented profile. No surprise, since she's a defender. Great HP with good defense. Her attack is middling, a bit higher than the Vanguard Texas, but with a slower attack speed. That's enough that she can kill things with her attacks, but won't impress on that front. As a Primal Protector, she interacts with elemental damage. If you need a refresher on the elemental meta, please see my earlier video on the topic. There's a link right here, or in the video description. 5-star elemental units have a tendency to either be able to generate elemental injury or gain bonuses from enemies under burst effects, but not both. Cairn is the first type of unit. She can trigger a burst, but doesn't gain any extra benefits other than the burst damage. Cairn's most interesting way of triggering this damage isn't with her skills, but with her talent. She deals 9% of attack as nervous impairment to blocked enemies every second. Since this scales off of attack and not damage, it's reliable regardless of enemy defense. This is a really cool effect, but we have to talk about the breakpoints. Her module pumps up the elemental injury and the multiplier here, so a matched Cairn can trigger a burst against any unit that she blocks for 14 seconds. Without her module, that increases to 19 seconds. And if she's only at Elite 1, the number soars to more than 50 seconds. Cairn really wants to be maxed, and you will not really get a taste of her strengths until at least E2. This effect is really quite big, though. Any enemy who spends 14 seconds blocked by Cairn will take 6,000 elemental damage, which is basically true damage, and lose their next 3 attacks to paralysis. In 14 seconds, she makes only 8 attacks, for a maximum of 4,800 physical damage before defense reduction. These nervous impairment bursts straight up deal more damage than she does. While her base stats look defensively oriented, her damage dealt is secretly more than 2x what it says on the box. And she can block up to 3 units at once. All 3 will take that nervous impairment while she blocks them. So while her attacks are only chipping away at one enemy, every unit she blocks will get a death timer. If you've ever had enemies stack up against your defender and groaned at how long it takes them to chip through everybody's HP, worry no longer. A unit with less than 6,000 HP, that's mid B rank or lower, will just straight up time out and die against Cairn. And because this is passive, Cairn doesn't need to be attacking for this to take effect. This should work even if her attack speed is lowered, or she's frozen or otherwise disabled. Although not if she's stunned, because stunned units can't block. This is a really cool passive damage aura. She's not really a DPS, but she's a defender who is pretty capable at killing the units she blocks. Do keep in mind that units that survive the burst will take 10 seconds to recover from the burst before they can receive more nervous impairment. It will take another 24 seconds before you trigger a second burst. Cairn can synergize with other nervous impairment units, which currently means Gracebearer, Mantra, or Trigodia. For Trigodia, it's not so much synergy as it is that Trigodia kills everything and Cairn sometimes blocks them. Just having Mantra on the board will pump up the damage here, even if their range doesn't overlap. But Gracebearer is the one I really want to call out. Gracebearer with S2 is the second kind of elemental unit. She can't trigger elemental bursts, but she gains bonuses from them. If you can set her up with Cairn in a formation sort of like this, you can have a lot of fun. Weak enemies will die under their combined attacks, or when the burst triggers. But when a heavy unit comes along, Cairn can proc a burst, and then you can unleash 2 charges of Gracebearer's skill for a combined 20k piercing damage. That's a pretty sick combo to pull off with just 2 5-stars. Back in Mantra's review, I predicted that we'd keep seeing the elemental meta develop, and this is just the sort of synergy I was looking forward to. With the talent this good, unfortunately, her skill is kind of lame. It deals AoE arts damage and nervous impairment for 10 seconds, plus gains a barrier for extra HP. It roughly doubles her nervous impairment output, but that means it only generates 600 nervous impairment per target. For targets she's blocking, they'll burst even faster, but for other targets in range, that's not enough to trigger a burst without another elemental attacker. It'll deal 4,800 arts damage across the cycle, which is less than a single elemental burst. Her talent brings all the real damage in her kit, and her skill is just a cute little bonus. Masteries don't do much for it. Invest in her module instead, which amplifies her primary strength. So what's my final rating here? Overall, Cairn is a beast of a defender for a 5-star. I think I'm going to give her an A. She's got the tank, block, and auto-triggering elemental damage to hold a lane pretty comfortably on her own, as long as it's not too crowded. Or you can use her as a main blocker with additional DPS support. Her elemental damage works against all manner of targets and stays strong even in the face of debuffs. She's not quite meta, but she's a solid all-rounder who makes a good default block 3 tank for any team. She doesn't need any elemental allies to be great, but gets even better if you bring the whole gang. If you picked up Cairn while chasing Nasty, congrats, you should think about building her. That's all for today. Please remember to like and subscribe to help me keep developing these.